What if I told you that you were never human? Not in the way you've been taught, not in the way you believe when you look at your hands, your reflection, or the memories tied to your name. Beneath the illusion of skin and bone, beyond the veil of culture, language, and identity, there lies something ancient, something infinite, a living current of awareness that cannot be confined by form, a presence that is not born and does not die. You are not merely a human being, you are a Hue-Man, a prism of consciousness, fragmented into experience, painted by emotion, distorted by time. But there is more, so much more. This journey we call life is not what it seems. It is not a beginning and an end, but a spiral, a sacred unraveling from the illusion of form to the remembrance of formlessness, from the dense matter of ego to the luminous radiance of source. This is not a theory. This is not a poetic metaphor for comfort. It is a roadmap, one that the ancients knew, one buried beneath stone tablets, whispered in temples, encoded in the DNA of pyramids and the silence between mantras. 12 stages, 12 gates, 12 thresholds between Hue-Man and pure consciousness. Most walk in circles within the first 3. A few glimpse the 4th or 5th in a moment of awakening. Fewer still cross into the upper realms where identity dissolves into divine flame and the self becomes everything and nothing. And yet, this path is not reserved for sages or saints. It is the birthright of every soul, including yours. You feel it, don't you? The ache in your spirit that nothing external can fill. The strange memory of something not from this world, but somehow truer than anything you've known. The moments in stillness, in suffering, in surrender, when reality cracks and a deeper light begins to seep through. That is the call, the echo, the silent invitation back to what you've always been. But to reclaim it, something must die. The illusion of self. The false stories of separation, the belief that you are a creature crawling toward death instead of a cosmic flame returning to remembrance. In this sacred transmission, we will unveil the 12 stages from Hue-Man to pure consciousness, not as a theory, but as a living map. Each stage is a threshold, an initiatory phase of inner alchemy, pulling you closer to the truth behind the mask. We will walk through forgotten teachings of the ancients, decode the symbolic language of the soul, and explore how to apply these truths in your daily life. From the raw depths of ego dissolution to the radiant expansion of cosmic unity, this is the path of becoming unbound. This is the path of remembering. You were never born. You are not becoming. You are awakening. So before we begin, ask yourself this. What part of you is listening right now? Is it the mind, eager for new knowledge, or is it the soul, finally hearing what it has always known? Because this isn't entertainment, this is initiation, and once you hear what's been hidden, you cannot go back. The door is open. Long before the modern world reduced humanity to flesh and instinct, before machines and systems turned the soul into statistics, the ancient ones knew something different. They didn't see you as a body with consciousness. They saw you as consciousness cloaked in form, not human but Hue-Man, a being of light and vibration, fragmented through the prism of experience. The word hue itself, in its original sense, means color, but not just any color. It refers to light filtered through a spectrum, a being refracted, a soul descending into dimension. In the mystery schools of Kemet, now known as ancient Egypt, initiates were taught that the physical body was merely the lowest octave of a being composed of 7 bodies. These were not metaphorical, they were energetic, vibrational, and real. The Kat was the flesh, the Ka was the vital essence, the Ba was the soul that journeyed beyond the veil. Above them all, the Ak was pure, undying consciousness, radiant and eternal. In these sacred temples, only the worthy were shown the full map. They were not trying to escape death, they were transcending identification with the mortal altogether. For death, they understood, was not an end. It was a transition between hues of consciousness. This map was not unique to Egypt. The same teachings echo across continents and millennia. In India's Upanishads, the Atman, the divine self, is not born, nor does it perish. The Maya, or illusion, is that we are individuals. The truth is we are the one consciousness playing through a dream of separation. The ancient Gnostics taught that the soul descended through planetary spheres, gathering layers of identity, programming, and limitation, until it forgot its origin. Only through gnosis, inner knowing, could it begin the return. In the Hermetic writings of Thoth, or Hermes Trismegistus, there is a divine axiom: as above, so below; as within, so without. This wasn't just poetic, it was instruction. If you could trace the patterns of the stars and the cycles of spirit, you could unlock the spiral staircase of your own ascension. The Mayans encoded this spiral in their calendar, not as a prediction of time, but as a map of transformation. Their system reflected stages of consciousness, with each Baktun representing a phase of spiritual evolution, cycles within cycles, like the movement of a soul across lifetimes, ascending ever higher through frequency. In Tibet, Dzogchen masters whispered that our natural state is Rigpa, a luminous awareness that cannot be taught, only recognized, and in silence they would point to the sky and say, "That vastness, that is what you are." Even Christ, the radical mystic, spoke in paradox. Before Abraham was, I am. A statement not of time but of being, of eternal awareness that never began. His true teaching, long buried under dogma, was not to worship a man, but to become what he had become. To realize the kingdom of heaven was not elsewhere, but within. All of these teachings, all of these symbols, point to one unshakable truth. You are not a person searching for God. You are God. Temporarily dreaming, it is a person. But how did the dream begin? According to esoteric systems, the soul descends in stages, like light filtering through thicker and thicker layers of vibration. At each level, a new identity is formed. A new you is born. Not a lie, but a limitation, a necessary forgetting. The first fall is from unity into duality, from oneness into polarity. This is when I and you are born. From there, consciousness splits into archetypes, masculine and feminine, light and shadow, matter and spirit. Each incarnation becomes a stage of remembering. Each experience a glyph etched into your energy field, guiding you back to wholeness. This is the hue in Hue-Man, the colors of awareness, worn like robes over the naked self. But the trap is this: the ego believes these robes are the self, that we are our pain, our culture, our body, our past. And so we build empires of identity, forgetting that we are merely guests in this body, visitors in this time, pilgrims walking through dimensions of thought. And yet across every ancient tradition, there was always the way out. The initiatory rites, the sacred maps, the inner temples. In the temples of Dendera and Luxor, walls whispered secrets of transfiguration. In the yogic systems of Patanjali, samadhi was the final state, pure union with the infinite. In the shamanic practices of the Americas, plant medicine guided the soul through death to rebirth. And in the stillness of Zen, the master would ask, "Who were you before your parents were born?" Not a riddle, a key. Because when you ask that question, not with your mind, but with your soul, something begins to crack. The illusion trembles, the veil thins, and what remains is not a name, not a story, but the silent pulse of consciousness itself. So, we ask again, what does it mean to be human? If the ancients are correct, it means to forget, and to awaken is to remember. What follows in this video is not an intellectual idea. It is the path of stages 12 phases of becoming, unbecoming, and becoming again. From the densest levels of fear and form to the final realization that you were never bound at all, that you were never human, you were always light, only dreaming in color. There are 12 stages, 12 veils to part, 12 flames of awareness that burn away the illusion that you were ever just human. These are not merely steps, they are thresholds, each one a doorway into a deeper frequency of your divine nature. Let us begin. This is the beginning, the stage of deep forgetting. You identify fully with the body, the senses, and the 5 illusions of the material world: form, separation, survival, competition, and time. Here, the soul sleeps inside the skin, dreaming it is only what it sees. Life is about survival, pleasure, and pain. Questions of spirit feel distant, irrelevant, or childish. You live reactively, asleep in a world of noise, but even in this slumber, the seed stirs. A vague ache, a quiet whisper, a sense that something's missing, something breaks. Maybe it's a heartbreak, maybe it's a loss, maybe it's the slow crumbling of a life that once felt certain. This stage is pain, raw, disorienting, sacred pain. And in that pain, the ego weakens, the illusion falters. You begin to wonder, is there more? This is the first true spiritual question, not asked with the mind, but with the soul. And the moment you ask, the path opens. Now the journey begins. You dive into books, teachers, philosophies. You explore yoga, meditation, astrology, psychedelics. You begin to touch truths that resonate beyond reason. You feel glimpses of the divine. Synchronicities multiply, dreams feel alive. The world no longer looks the same, but in your seeking, you still seek outside. You chase answers, unaware that you are the answer itself. Still, this stage is necessary. It creates movement, it activates remembrance. This is where the old self begins to die. All that you thought you were, your titles, roles, relationships, and even your wounds, start to lose their grip. You feel unstable, like the ground beneath your soul is shaking. And it is, because the ego cannot walk where the soul is going. Many turn back here. It is terrifying to lose yourself, but those who stay begin to shed. This is the dark night of the soul, the womb of unmaking. If you endure the unraveling, a strange stillness emerges, not absence, but presence. You begin to notice the gap between thoughts, the space between breaths, the awareness that is watching everything, yet untouched by any of it. This is where meditation becomes more than a practice. It becomes a portal. You realize, I am not my thoughts. I am not my story. I am the awareness behind it all. The light returns, not in blinding flashes, but in subtle truth. This is the stage of alignment. Your outer life begins to match your inner awareness. You no longer tolerate things that dim your soul. You speak the truth. You live from intuition. You honor your energy. The higher self begins to anchor. You feel guided, protected, empowered. You are not yet free, but you are no longer bound. Your life becomes a reflection of your inner awakening. But even here, a deeper illusion waits to be revealed, because the self you've discovered is still a self, still a hue of the light. To go further, you must dissolve even that. Pause here. We have crossed 6 stages, halfway through the spiral, from deep unconsciousness to soul alignment, from the dream of form to the doorway of formlessness. But the second half of the path, the final 6 stages, are not about becoming more. They are about becoming less. Not in worth, but in weight. Less of the false, less of the story, less of the I. In the next part, we enter the realms of mystical death, divine paradox, and the reabsorption into pure consciousness. We will explore the final 6 thresholds of awakening, the stages where the soul surrenders even its own light to remember the original radiance that needs no name. We now stand at the edge of the known self, the part you've sculpted through effort, learning, and light. But beyond this point, language begins to fail. And still, we try. Because the path forward requires words as keys to unlock what lies beyond them. Here, the ego begins its final unraveling, not through force, but through revelation. Let us walk the final 6 stages. You begin to see clearly that even your highest spiritual identity, the seeker, the healer, the awakened one, is still a mask. A beautiful mask, yes, but a mask all the same. And when this realization hits, it cuts deep. It can feel like a betrayal, as if everything you've worked so hard to become was still just part of the illusion. But it's not betrayal, it's grace. You finally see that the mirror in which you saw yourself was never real, and so it breaks, not to punish, but to reveal what cannot be seen with eyes. The formless watcher behind all reflections. This is not symbolic, this is ego death. A sacred death in which the you thought you were dissolves. It may come through meditation, deep suffering, a vision, or silence so profound it becomes a void. In this stage, everything you thought you knew may collapse. The world feels unfamiliar. You may feel as if you're disappearing. But here lies the paradox. You are not disappearing. You are appearing for the first time. You are not dying. You are waking up. It is not comfortable, but it is holy, because in this space there is no one left to suffer, only awareness, infinite, pure, untouched. This is where the sacred marriage occurs, the alchemical union of light and dark, male and female, spirit and flesh. You see clearly, there was never any separation. There is no enemy, no other, no lower self, no higher self. All duality was a dance of the one with itself. You embrace the totality, you love your shadow, you embody your light, and in doing so, you transcend both. You become the still point in the center of the spiral, the eye of the storm, the one that holds the many. After the fire of dissolution, something tender is born again. Not a persona, not a new ego, but the original essence, the pure, playful, innocent being that existed before the world told you who to be. The cosmic child is not naive. It is wise beyond reason, yet untouched by trauma or identity. It lives through wonder. It dances with the universe. It trusts the mystery. This stage is marked by lightness, presence, and spontaneous joy. You no longer seek to be spiritual. You simply are, because the one consciousness is playing again through you. At this stage, you no longer identify with the body or even with the soul. You become transparent, a vessel for the divine to move freely. People may feel your presence and not know why they feel peace. You speak less, but your silence carries weight. You may laugh more, but the laughter feels sacred. You are here and not here. You act, but are not the doer. You become the flute, and the breath that plays it is not yours. This is surrender, not out of weakness, but out of knowing you were never separate. You become an emissary of the unseen, a mirror of the divine. Words can no longer follow here. This is not a stage you reach because there is no you to reach it. This is absorption, not into light, not into bliss, but into isness. No self, no time, no observer, only the field, only presence, only that which cannot be named, only recognized. Some call it Brahman. Others call it the void, the Tao, the Godhead. It is not an experience, it is the end of experience and experience. And yet, it is more real than anything you've ever known. It cannot be taught, but it can be remembered. It cannot be sought, but it can be surrendered to. And once this realization dawns, you don't become silent. You become silence itself. You don't shine light. You are light, dreaming again, entering the spiral once more, but this time, be aware. We have now passed through all 12 stages, from density to divinity, from Hue-Man to the formless field. But the question is not, where are you on this path? The question is, are you listening from the one walking the path or from the one who was never on it? Because both are you, and neither are you. That is the mystery. You've walked through the sacred map, from the slumber of flesh to the dissolving into pure consciousness. But what now? How do you live this truth when the world still knocks on your door, when emotions still rise, when bills still exist? The answer is not to escape the world, but to embody the awareness that was never of it. You do not have to climb mountains or sit in caves to access what we've revealed. The stages are not far away. They unfold in your now each time you remember. Here, we explore practical ways to live the spiral, to walk the 12 stages, not just as teachings, but as breath, action, and being. No practice is more powerful than presence. Set aside 5 to 10 minutes each morning, not to meditate in the traditional sense, but to observe. Sit in silence. Feel the breath move through you. Watch the thoughts rise and fall. Say inwardly, I am not this way of thinking. I am the space it passes through. This simple observation reconnects you to stage 5, the awareness between thoughts. When done consistently, it rewires your nervous system, calms the mind, and returns you to the seat of the soul. When you catch yourself identifying with emotion, ask, who is watching this? And breathe into that question. Inspired by ancient Egyptian self-initiation rituals, this technique confronts illusion at its root. Stand before a mirror eye to eye. Gaze, not with judgment, but with presence. Speak the truth aloud. This is not me. This is the temple I walk in. Then pause and ask, who is looking through these eyes? Repeat this nightly. Over time, the mirror stops showing a face and begins revealing a presence. This awakens stage 4 and 7, dismantling the ego's image and deepening inner recognition. In stage 11, you become a transparent self, acting without ownership. To train this, choose a daily task, washing dishes, walking, making tea, and do it with full devotion. Before the task, say, I surrender this action to the divine within me. Move through me. This awakens sacred flow. It removes you from doing and opens the gateway to being. Over time, this changes how you move through life. You no longer force, you follow. The divine begins to orchestrate your steps because you've removed your grip on the reins. Create a sacred journal, not to analyze, but to witness the unfolding of your stages. Each night ask yourself, which stage was most present in me today? Where did I react to the Hue-Man? Where did I respond from the consciousness? What illusion cracked open today? This isn't for performance. It's a mirror for remembrance. Over weeks, patterns will reveal. The spiral becomes visible. Even regression is not failure. It's a deeper loop into the same truth. Breath is the bridge between flesh and spirit. Practice conscious breath cycles. The triangle breath. Inhale 4 counts. Hold 4 counts. Exhale 4 counts. Do this for 5 to 7 minutes daily. This practice unlocks access to stage 6, the inner flame. You'll notice heightened awareness, calm, and spiritual clarity. Ancient yogis used this method to still the mind and enter higher realms. Advanced variant. Visualize golden light entering your body on the inhale, dissolving shadows on the hold, and expanding your field on the exhale. At the core of all identity is the phrase, I am. But few realize, this is not a statement, it's a doorway. Repeat throughout the day, I am not in this role, I am not in this pain. I am that which witnesses it all. This ancient teaching, hidden in Kabbalah, Vedic scripture, and the words of Christ, is the axis of awakening. Practice consciously stating, I am, without completing the sentence. Just sit in that stillness. Over time, the sentence dissolves, and what remains is being itself. To reconnect with stage 10, perform a weekly ritual to restore innocence. Set a candle before you. Hold a childhood photo of yourself. Look at this child, not with nostalgia, but with reverence. Say aloud, "You never left. I am here now. Let us play again." Then do something spontaneous. Dance, paint, hum, or walk barefoot in the grass. This restores the sacred joy that once flowed without effort. The cosmic child is your bridge to the divine, not through solemnity, but through delight. The full moon represents the light of awareness, reflecting into your shadow. Each full moon, write down the identities you've outgrown. I release the need to be understood. I surrender the healer mask. I dissolve the story of abandonment. Burn the paper safely and speak, "I return to what I've always been." This anchors stage 8, the ego death, into your energetic field, with the cosmos as witness. To integrate stage 9, recite this mantra upon waking. I am the dark and the light. I am the wound and the medicine. I am the many. I am the one. Speak this not as affirmation, but as recognition. Your spiritual state is not measured in solitude, but in how you love. Notice when others trigger ego identity. Pause. Instead of defending the mask, silently say, "You are me, dressed differently." When you feel unseen, unloved, or judged, return to this core question: who is being hurt? And is that the real me? These questions are your compass. They restore the perspective of consciousness in the theater of life. Set aside 15 minutes once per week to do absolutely nothing. No phone, no movement, no plan. Just sit in the isness. Let boredom arise. Let thoughts scream. Let stillness swallow. This practice prepares you for stage 12. It is a death rehearsal and also pure presence. Soon you will find joy not in activity, but in being itself. You do not reach the 12th stage once and for all. You spiral through them in cycles. You fall asleep and wake again. You forget and remember. You descend into Hue-Man and rise into consciousness again and again. The master is not one who never forgets. The master is the one who remembers faster. So when pain returns, welcome it as stage 2. When ego tightens, bless it as stage 4. When silence arrives, bow as it reveals stage 12. The map is not linear. It is sacred geometry, folding in, unfolding out forever. You now hold not just knowledge but keys. These practices are not meant to be mastered. They are meant to be lived, gently, daily, devotedly. In the marketplace and the moonlight, in heartbreak and in holiness, because you were never here to escape being human. You were here to reveal the divine through it. You began this journey perhaps as a seeker, perhaps as a skeptic, perhaps as a soul who could no longer ignore the silent voice that whispered, "There is more." And there is. Not more to become, but more to remember. Let us reflect. You were never just a human being stumbling through random experience. You are, and always were, a Hue-Man, a prism of divine consciousness, refracting light through layers of forgetting and remembering, collapsing and awakening. 12 stages, 12 veils, 12 sacred turns on the spiral. From the slumber of flesh to pure consciousness, you have walked a path traced in the dust of ancient temples and written in the stars before you were born. In truth, this path was not laid before you. It was carved within you. You've seen now how suffering itself is a portal, how ego is not the enemy, but the chrysalis, how death is not destruction, but release, and how the self is not a thing, but the vast no-thing in which all things arise. You've been shown that silence speaks louder than thought, that stillness moves deeper than action, that surrender is not giving up, it is going in. The teachings of Egypt, India, Tibet, the Gnostics, the mystics, the saints and sages all echo this truth. You were never separate. You only believed you were. You were never broken. You only believed you needed to be fixed. You were never lost. You were playing the role of someone who forgot, so you could know the miracle of remembrance. This is the grand riddle. The self searches for itself through every soul. And once it finds itself, it remembers there was no journey at all. Just a dream, just a dance, just consciousness playing hide and seek in form. And now, you've been found. Not by someone else, but by the part of you that never forgot. The part of you that watched, patiently, from the stillness behind your eyes. The part that knew this day would come. The part that planted this very message in your timeline, because it was time to remember. So, beloved one, what now? You may feel an urgency to rise, to teach, to act, or you may feel the call to be still, to integrate, to simply breathe in this newfound awareness. Both are sacred. Let your next step rise not from thought, but from knowing. Let it come from the place within you that was here before you had a name. And when you feel alone, remember this: thousands, no millions, are awakening with you. Across continents, lifetimes, and dimensions, the spiral is spinning. The lights are turning back on, one soul at a time. And that includes you. You are not late. You are not early. You are arriving, exactly as was written, and now you no longer need to strive. You only need to remember. And so we end, as we began, with a mystery. A whisper from the silence that you are. You were never the drop in the ocean. You were the ocean, pretending to be a drop. This truth was never lost. It was waiting for you to remember. And now, the spiral is open. The breath is sacred. The path is within you. The only question left is, will you walk it?